Welcome back to my channel. I'm Saira Hayati and I'm going to talk to you about things that you've been asking me, and this one I've kind of avoided for quite some time, but so many of you wanted to know why I moved to Malaysia and not Pakistan. Now let me give you a little bit of history, right? I did a DNA test and the DNA test says 76% Afghan. I kind of knew because my mother's mother was from Kabul. And then we weren't sure about dad, and so we did this test. He has this Iraqi look to him, and so did his father, and then the fact that they were in the army made us question it, because my parents came from Pakistan, and that's where I've always traveled back to many times, and I love going back to Pakistan. I enjoyed many long stays in Pakistan and the nature and the beauty of it all. Now, so where I was saying that we thought that we were Pakistani, but we did know that there was some other history behind us. Did a DNA, 76% Afghan, 12% European, and then somewhere in Iraq, Syria, around that way. So that's actually the history bloodline, but I was born in the UK. My parents went to England late 60s, and I was born. Not in the late 60s though, right? That's, before you go trying to guess the age. I was born a bit after that. So then, having spent my whole life in the UK, I decided that I wanted to move out and go to a country that I would feel a little bit more happier in, more like retirement. Loads of people do it, not just me, and not just brown faces, even the white people, they do it. They go out to places like south of France, Spain, Portugal, even Turkey. I found loads of white expats in Turkey. So people do it, and I wanted to do it. So I came to Malaysia, and now everybody wants to know, why did I come to Malaysia? And I was like, okay, I'll tell you. So my experience is the first time, now there's some of you are going to hate what I'm going to say, but I'm going to tell you the truth. This is down to my personal experiences, not a measure or a direct example of what exists today. This is my example. So my youth, when I was younger, we went to Pakistan and went to shop in the bazaar, and it was the worst experience ever, because the guys that stare at you. I was only a kid. All right, I wasn't a kid. I was probably about 14, let's say. But I was young, female, and they would stare at you, and they would actually physically touch you. Like, they thought it was okay to walk past you and brush their hand against you, which really threw me because we weren't used to that. And even then, we weren't dressed inappropriately. We followed the code of attire when we were there. Like, even one point I wore, they used to wear, they call it a chadar, so you chuck the chadar over, but we used to niqab. I even did niqab because I thought, and I even bought chappal, you know, the rubber chappal, because I thought they won't know where I'm from. They'll just blend me in as a local. But apparently the local girls get it too. So, hey, anyway, this was in Abbottabad. Back in the day, Abbottabad was not as busy as it is today. Anyhow, my experience then went on to things like more recently, because I thought, you know, times have moved on. I love Islamabad. Abbottabad has got really busy. Islamabad is busy, but quite central. It's very well organized, you know, and the standards are super high. So for a Westerner moving to Pakistan, Islamabad, from my experience, very cosmopolitan, loved it, loved the experience. Got in a taxi late at night with children. Now I'm looking at the news and thinking that wasn't such a good idea, but I was okay. You know, I went in the booked Kareem cars, and I didn't have any issues. Maybe I was just lucky. I just feel that the trouble is, in certain parts of Pakistan, you just don't have that freedom. You should be able to get in your car as a female and drive wherever you want, go wherever you want, do whatever you want, and not feel uncomfortable. I went to Beria town in Rawalpindi a couple of years ago, and I quite liked it. I went into the coffee shop underneath these apartments that I was staying in, and yes, I was staying on my own, away from some family members, and they were really good. The block was really good. They were very respectful. They didn't disturb my peace. They knew that I was there, and they were very good. Went downstairs, got myself a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Very nice people, very friendly, all good. Wandered around the shops, good. The negative experience that came there was when the taxi drivers are hanging and waiting, and now I'm having to walk past them and I feel really uncomfortable because of the glares. This is only a few years ago. Nothing's changed. The other thing that's really uncomfortable, I wouldn't say it was uncomfortable, but it hurts me when I see that big divide. You know, there's the poverty divide, that people are, children, in fact, not people, children are still being exploited and used to collect rubbish, to recycle, so they've got food. And there's a lot of beggars. And yes, some of you might say those beggars are trained now, but I don't believe that they're all like that. I've picked up many who just want food and clothing, and I've given them what I can. And you want to take them all in, and you want to give them all a home. And I'd love to be able to fund a shelter for people that want to have food, just that one meal for the day, because that divide is so big in Pakistan, and it's not hidden in any way. It is there on every street corner. In Islamabad, they might move them on. In just everywhere, Rawalpindi, it's there. Every single place that I have been to, I've not been to Karachi. I went there once on a stopover when I was a kid, but that's the extent of Karachi. But you know, just that divide, it's not nice. So it's true, and you will agree with me, it's very uncomfortable with the guys. You don't necessarily feel safe. It's, you know, you're hearing all sorts of stories about, you know, you have to go out with a man. You can't go out on your own. Here in Malaysia right now, I'm staying in a very nice hotel. Pakistan has very nice hotels, but in Pakistan, I still won't feel comfortable going out on the streets on my own as a female from the UK. Maybe a female from Pakistan. You know, I've got family members who are females, and they'll go out during the day, maybe, if they need to. You can go shopping to the malls. Malls, I call them malls, but you know, let's talk about the less affluent areas. You can go down into the bazaars. You can jump into a taxi, Suzuki, and you can do things during the day. But as soon as it goes dark, those girls are not stepping foot out of their homes, and you are confined, imprisoned in your own space because you dare not go outside. It's risky, because I guess that's where all the crime in most countries occurs, is after dark. So what have we touched on? The ability for a female to feel comfortable, for a female to have the complete freedom, like I'm talking complete risk-free freedom. And I felt that it was okay here. And some people in Malaysia might disagree with me, share some advice, but I don't think that the levels and the volume of crime that exists in that country are the same as Malaysia. And respectful, you know, I've already done the whole Malaysians are how they are and what I've experienced. So what else is there? I think that the houses are beautiful in Pakistan if you've got money. I think the places you can go and do are quite good. It's quite expensive though. You know, if you wanted to live in Islamabad, you're talking bucks. The house prices are huge. If you want to live in a decent area, you might be paying £300,000-400,000 and more. And if you go out for a meal, I can tell you it's on par with the UK. So there's no real difference, except for, you know, you might enjoy having a warmer climate and being surrounded by just, you know, majority Pakistanis. Whereas Malaysia has got a diversity to it. You know, there's the Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Malaysians, the Indians, the Pakistanis, the Afghans. There's so much diversity here, and everybody's very loving and welcoming of each other. And that's one of the reasons why I chose Malaysia over Pakistan. And here, the house prices are not that expensive, not for us with the British pound, compared to, like if I bought what I bought here in Malaysia and Pakistan in a decent area, I'm going to be paying a lot more than I am here. And you know, cost of living here is not that tragic compared to Pakistan. Pakistan, because of political turmoil, there is instability in all of the cost of living. You know, the inflation is so out of control. The currency is super weak. So at the end of the day, you have to think, you know, all of these factors come into play when you're choosing a country. And I, as a female, feel safer, happier, and more welcomed in Malaysia than I do in Pakistan. So healthcare is a big issue for me, because as you get older, you're going to need to have that healthcare. And yes, whilst there are some really amazing places in Pakistan that you can have access to, what if you fall somewhere whilst out on an excursion. You know, the ambulance service is not tight. The hospital that you might end up in is not through no choice. I have found here in Malaysia that you can go anywhere and there is a good standard of healthcare available wherever you go. Now, one of the other things that you will agree with me if you've been to Pakistan is the hygiene. Some places still have open sewers. The garbage, the rubbish that is just, there's no system that's being taken care of. You might, in pockets of Pakistan, still enjoy that, but as you venture out, you still find that rubbish is a big issue. Now, that might not sound so huge to you, but that gives rise to, you know, viruses, bacterias, illness. If you eat something, you can't drink the water out of the tap. That was funny, that because we had a recent visitor from the UK, and the first question they had was, can you drink water out of the tap? And I'm like, yes, you can. And it's surprising because in so many countries you actually can't do that. It's not good for you. So you end up buying bottled wherever you go. Okay, so the other trouble is, and this is common in most countries, is corruption. Okay, but the corruption in Pakistan is huge. Like, it is openly done. Imran Khan came and he tried to make it a difference. And that's one man that can change the whole direction of Pakistan. But they just don't want it. They don't want it. You know, another thing that I felt when I was there is there's a difference of divide as well, you know, because there's culture kicks. So if you go into the city, that's fine, no problem. Wear a hijab, don't wear a hijab, whatever you want. You know, they're becoming quite relaxed actually with the whole religious side of things. But let's move it away from there. Let's go to towns, let's go to villages, and the way that women are treated, that culture still exists, is still there. That backward-mindedness is still there, and it's not religion, it's purely from culture. I don't think that they've got a very good understanding of the Islamic religion, even though it's a Muslim country. And I think it's kind of watered down now, it's getting diluted. The way that, you know, it still exists with the girls in villages, and, you know, how they're treated, and the choices and the freedom of speech that a woman has in Pakistan is still on the bottom end. Even today, you will see that a woman's worth is based on the man that's standing next to her. And I saw a huge difference shift here in Malaysia, because the women here, they're on fire. They're like, where they're working, the levels, the education, the family support for their daughters. They'll send their daughters abroad to educate, you know. Whereas Pakistan is still stuck behind thinking that the girls are going to just marry somebody rich. I know that there's places that probably still that are you know, opening up, and their open-mindedness is improving, but I just think that there is still such a huge shift in difference between societies and that cultural side, whereas the Islamic side here is completely different to the Islamic side in Pakistan. And Pakistan, I do recall, in certain locations, you do get the azan and you get to enjoy that, but you can't, as a woman, just hop into a mosque and go and pray. You can't, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can't. It's not open door. It's not the thing that a woman does, because she has to stay at home and she has to pray indoors. Whereas here, I'm out, there are saraos everywhere. There is the ultimate respect for women here. And I can say that it's on par with when you go to even Arab countries. The facilities, the extra respect that's given to women exists in Malaysia, and I'm afraid to say that it doesn't in Pakistan. And I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to go shopping, and I want to be able to stop and say, oh, I'm just going to stop and pray, and there's a sarau. Or, that's a beautiful mosque, I'd like to go and pray in there. And that, you know, the presence of beautiful mosques as well here in Malaysia. They're everywhere, literally everywhere, and all sorts of different architecture as well, from, you know, Chinese Muslims. Their mosques are stunning, actually. I've yet to go in there and experience the recitations. Now, look, don't get me wrong, Pakistan is a beautiful place. I have some absolutely amazing experience memories far greater than any of this stuff. And I just think that because of the political and financial instability, it's just not the place where I want to be, because I don't want to have that fear and that worry. But also, as being a female, you know, I've got cousins that live in Islamabad and they're getting on fine. They're enjoying their life. And yes, when I was there, I probably had one of the best Ramadans in my life, but it wasn't actually, I say best, it's because we slept all day and we went out all night because you could. And, you know, we ate food at some really amazing places. But you can do that if you've got money. And if you haven't got money, then I guess that life isn't going to be that fair. So I think that if you've got modest, or you're a middle band earner, you can still have a really good quality of life here in Malaysia. And I hope that one day, you know, Pakistan can get itself up there, and things will change. But that is probably in the distant future. But if in the right hands and the people had the confidence, because the people are actually really good at heart. They are hard workers. They are striving. They're struggling. They're living in the conditions that I'm talking to you about. And they have to live with it. But I think in the right hands that the country could be such an amazing place, because, you know, it's like 9 hours from London and 8 to 9 hours, dependent on where you go. But the amount of beauty that is there, the waterfalls that I visited, the greenery, the mountains, you know, you can go one mountain and you've got snow, and you go to the other mountain and you've got fir trees and sunshine. That's how amazing and beautiful Pakistan actually is. It's just in the wrong hands, and it has got a lot of work before it can catch up with what Malaysia is delivering right now. And my prayers are always with Pakistan, but for now, that's the reason why I chose Malaysia and not Pakistan. I hope I haven't offended anybody, because this is just my personal experiences, and I want to draw on the best experiences. However, we always remember the worst, don't we? And I'm sure that there were many, many more brilliant experiences that I had while I was there. So yes, don't be offended, because I am patriotic to the fact my parents were born and grew up there. And it's the place that I've always gone back to, and I consider my home. And maybe my next generation will move there. Who knows? I hope you've enjoyed this. Give it a like, give it a share so other people can see it. It's a true personal reflection of those experiences. And maybe somebody might listen and decide that, you know, they're going to support Imran Khan, or another Imran Khan will be born and he can put together a great government that will change the direction of Pakistan in the future, inshallah.